talk today.
Okay.
And this must be one of the best. This is going to be one of the best talks of your career.
Right.
Yeah, I like that. You ready? It's not every Friday.
Oh God, I can't hear you.
Wednesday. It's not Friday.
Yeah, what will happen with me? Sometimes he'll cut off, but he's actually talking, and he'll repeat again if you want him to.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That happens because we're streaming live. You see.
Okay. All right. So if you're ready. Let me see. Ready?
Oh, okay, my dear. You ready? You ready?
Yeah.
Ready?
Hi.
Okay.
Welcome to Blessed Radio with Unit. Sorry?
Yeah.
Okay. I would like to welcome everyone on Blessed Radio on Unity 5 platform. And today we have a very special guest. Her name is Otuyemi. She's a principal solicitor, and she's from one of the, I think, a partnership with KB & Co Solicitors. And we will call the sister on in a minute. She'll be talking about various laws and proceedings that have actually been put into new laws as well, like since Brexit, right? And immigration law. We've got asylum law. We've got wills. We've got very, very different types of laws that she's going to actually break down today. And so, before further ado, as we started late today, so I'm actually going to invite my sister Otuyemi.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, my darling. Thank
How are
you for
you?
coming on to Blessed Radio with Unity 5 platform. I'm absolutely fine, darling. Do you want to just introduce yourself a bit, please? Hi, Bumi.
Hi, how are you?
Not so
I'm
bad,
here.
Bumi. Do you want to introduce yourself, Bumi?
Yes. My name is Olubunmi Otuyemi. I'm a solicitor, and I practice from KB & Co Solicitors. We're based in Stratford, East London.
Mm-hmm.
And we practice different areas of law. Divorce, financial proceedings, immigration, wills, all areas basically. There are a number of people in the firm. I do immigration, family, and employment. That's my main area.
Right, brilliant, fantastic. So, Bumi, before further ado, I'd just like to say that how is your lockdown going right now? How are you?
Oh God. We don't actually have lockdown because we do go to the office. I was in court yesterday as well. Not today, but yesterday. So, I mean, it's coming on. It's okay. We're looking forward to the lifting of the lockdown as well, which I think starts with the children going back to school next week.
Yeah, on the 8th. Yeah, that's right. Now, Purvi.
So did you become very busy in the lockdown, or it was very, very quiet?
I can't hear you, though.
Did you become very busy in the lockdown?
Yes, especially certain areas of law. I must say, domestic violence is quite busy. We have loads of cases, children cases, during the lockdown, neglect of children and all that, domestic violence. So yes, we've been busy at court. Courts has been sitting every day. So yes.
Okay, so before further ado, Purvi, did you actually listen in today with what Shunak's new budget is?
Yes, I did.
What do you make of it then?
Oh, he has tried his best to survive the economy and support the people around, That is what I can say. He's doing his best. But what can we do? The situation is such a crisis. But
it's funny you say that because a lot of them are not happy with what his decision is. He thinks that so one caller, I got a question coming in saying he's left the key workers out. He's not done nothing for the the housing and the more of the the poor part of the country. And also there was another question that came, and they're very angry. Some of the people, they're saying that Sunak didn't prioritise people in the social care, the NHS, the key workers, and he's overlooked that department. What do you think of that?
I told you that he could do what he could do the best, because we are already in the deficit of over 300 billion pounds. We have borrowed more than 200 billion pounds during the COVID. So whatever we have borrowed, we have to pay back. And this payback is not going to come only from us, from this future generation. So he has to start putting things in that perspective and do what is necessary at this time, so our future generation is not being so daunting like what we feel right now.
Okay, nice to hear your perspective on that. I think maybe we'll have to agree to disagree there. Right, Bumi?
Yes.
Right, darling, I want you to actually break down a few things on business law for us, please.
Well, business law, basically, like exactly what the name is basically the law surrounding businesses.
Mm-hmm.
We have the small business, we have the medium, and obviously the big corporate bodies.
Mm-hmm.
So we have different laws.
Mm-hmm.
So, for instance, the regular people out there running the corner shop, small businesses, they're packed together into one. And if you decide to go on and register your business, there are different levels of businesses. You can decide to do what is called a company limited by guarantee. That's quite a bit similar to being a charity organization. And then we have limited by profit, by shares. That's a profit organization. There are quite a few of them, and they are all registered. You have to be registered with the company house, which is the corporate body that registers all companies in the United Kingdom. Obviously, before you can register a business, you have to have a name for that business. You have to have determined if you want to make it a profit-making organization. What that means is, are you looking at shares? Are you looking to sell shares? Are you looking to get your members of the family or extended people into the business? Then you need to determine what sorts of shares you're going to give to everybody. Because if it's just two people, for instance, one person might decide, okay, I would have the majority share, which is anything above 51%. And the minority is 49, obviously, and below. I mean, so if you and I want to go into business, you might decide to take the 51. So you'll be the majority share. So you can make your decisions. You can make decisions even without me. That it's the ones limited by shares, profit making. And that's like all your big companies, Coca-Cola, everything. They are within that category. They are limited by shares and they are profits making. And so that's the main one that people are actually interested in. Those are the about four of them all together. Starting a business, yes.
Right. Okay. Recently, obviously, with the COVID-19 going on, I've noticed a lot of uprise in charities and community social enterprises, businesses, and people have been getting into this as well. Now, keeping in mind with the furlough in place, and also keeping in mind that a lot of businesses have made a huge loss during COVID-19, and but there was a scheme put in there, like I just said, the furlough scheme, where big business people were applying for funds for their employees to work from home. Now, as we're coming towards the end of the COVID-19 and things may get back to normality, is there something in place for our business people that have had small businesses, they've lost their businesses, some people are just managed to scrape their businesses and keep it running? Is there something in place legally that they can actually claim some compensation?
Well, obviously I need to sit down and read and look at the budget today. it's a bit difficult because really, except your insurance, if you're actually insured in terms of loss of business, you'll be able to make claims.
Right.
And that's the main thing. The other help the government are actually giving are things like, all this bounce back loan.
Yeah.
If you are entitled to it, they followed one that is helping the staff, whereby the government pays a certain percentage of people's salary. That is being extended. I mean, I looked briefly at the summary today. I need to, unfortunately, because it was just this afternoon.
Yeah.
But obviously, we need to look and maybe come back and discuss that more to look at the advantage of today's budget, because that is based mainly on businesses and how the governments are looking to help. I know a number of these of this have been extended in terms of, obviously, because COVID, we are looking for it to end. For instance, the issue of landlord and tenants that I said earlier on, obviously, lots of landlords are in business and people go into business to make profit. Yeah. But unfortunately, in the last 1 year, it has not been so for landlords. And I really, really sympathize with them because they have to pay their mortgages as well.
Yes.
And a lot of people have unfortunately lost their jobs, so they are not able to pay their rent. But the government say you can't start the process of eviction. So how are they meant to maintain the mortgage that they are meant to pay at the end of each month? So I'm hoping the government will be able to help more business people, but just time will tell.
Yeah. One thing you mentioned was a little bit of a key point here, because most of the people go into businesses like, I'm not talking about the big businesses and big corporates, but even small businesses and people that are in little market units. What they forget to do is insure themselves.
Yeah.
And that is when they end up losing a lot, don't they?
Yes, they do. Yeah. Because I know a lot of business who are lucky or blessed, whatever word you want to use, that are actually insured against loss of businesses. They are able to at least go onto the insurance and claim some money. Obviously, cannot cover what they've lost, but at least it will definitely help.
Yeah. I've noticed that because I know a few people that are crying because they had little units. They silly of them. They didn't take no insurance out for, to cover themselves, and now they're in really, they're in deep, financial issues here. Okay, We'll leave the law business there. Then I would like to talk about another topic. Is, to me, this is going to be if we talk deeply about this, immigration law. Now, keeping in mind the Brexit, keeping in mind the rules and regulations for EU now, and let's start off from here then. What you got to talk about immigration law?
Well, basically, it's just going to be very brief. What I'm going to say about immigration law. What the Home Office has done, it's for people who are currently in the UK on visitors visa and are not able to go back but wants to go back. So if you're meant to go back between, I think it's the 11th of March 2021 and 31st of March 2021, if you're in that category, you have your visa that is going to expire between that 2-week or 3-week span. What you can actually do if you're unable to go back home is to make an application to the Home Office to extend your visa, but you need to tell them why. So, for instance, if you say to them, if you are meant to go back home during that period, and your visa obviously expires during that time, and supposing the person has COVID, for instance, tested positive for COVID, so you cannot travel. What you need to do is the tests, or I think they send you documents to say you've tested positive, because you need to send that document to the Home Office with your application to say, listen, I've tested positive or COVID, I'm unable to travel. They will definitely extend your visa.
Okay.
And it's worth doing that, because that will prevent you from overstaying in this country. And obviously they will need some information, things like your full name, date of birth, nationality, if you have your home office number, a list of things. I mean, obviously, if you need that, I can let you know where to get that information in terms of the things you would need to write to. And I actually have an email address as well, where you need to send that email to if you are making that application to extend your visa as a result of COVID, or it might be as a result that you tested positive for COVID, or you are not able to get a flight back home, because obviously we have various countries that have their borders shut at the minute. So if you can't get a flight back home, all those reasons are genuine reasons for your application. So you just need the document to support that.
Now, having said that, obviously, if they're not entitled to any help, any benefits, I do know the legal aid. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is it scrapped now? The legal aid.
Legal aid does not. Legal aid does not would not support you with your application to the Home Office. However, if you are destitute, say you are in this country, maybe you are on holiday, you were meant to stay in an hotel, and you don't have money, you ran out of money because of this COVID, you don't have anybody in this country, you could make an application that you are destitute to the Home Office, and the local authority might. I'm not saying they will, they might be support you, especially if there are children involved.
Yeah, I was talking on legal aid in general for anything that they want to do through, in help with either it could be law, immigration, landlord, anything that they want to do. I mean, legal aid, I was just wondering if it's been scrapped or not, or is it still there for some people because they can't afford to pay a lawyer or solicitor?
Well, it's not been scrapped. It's just that people, like, I know the legal aid immigration is still in existence.
Okay.
But it's really difficult to come by a solicitor that will agree to use it.
Who will agree with it? Yeah, that's
because the amount legal aid are spending on immigration are actually not worth it. I think it's about £150. Obviously, that is so little that most solicitor will go through all the work to be paid £150.
Yeah.
Like, so, I mean, legal aid is still available for asylum.
Yeah.
It's still available for asylum, but things like landlord and tenant, there's no legal aid for that. Housing, though, there's still legal aid for housing.
Okay.
Family cases, when it comes to divorce, there's no legal aid for divorce in itself. What you can do, if you cannot afford the divorce fees, which is the court fees, can actually make an application to court.
And waive it?
Yes, you can make an application for a waiver for that fees, which is £550.
Okay.
If you're not working or if you're not able to pay for whatever reason. So that is still available for you. But in terms of legal aid, no, it's not. Legal aid is still available for children cases, like care cases.
That's
good. You get legal aid for that, and it's full legal aid. So, I mean, that is still very much available. For crime, cases like crime cases, those are still available, but obviously it's been reduced, but it's still available.
So what crimes are we looking at then?
We're looking at a crime that if you are found guilty, you can go to prison for. Legal aid are actually available for those type of crime cases. So I'm talking cases like assault, theft, what other cases? Murder, cases like that. Legal aid are still very much available, especially at the Crown Court level.
Okay.
For cases like traffic offences, there's no legal aid for those.
Okay. Wow.
Can I jump in? I need to ask one question regarding this. I just want to ask, these international students who have stayed back here to study, and they're only entitled to 20 hours of work. But due to furlough scheme, the job is gone, and I don't think so. They are allowed to get the furlough pay. What are the rights for them?
Well, if a student is working 20 hours, and as a result of COVID, if the company are actually putting people on furloughed, they have to put them on it because they work 20 hours. If they have to have reduced hours, because they are workers and they have the permits to work in this country, they have the permits to work for 20 hours. So as long as you are not requesting for more than 20 hours on behalf of that student, yes, they can. They can be followed.
Yeah, but then what happens to them? What are the rights for them if they don't have a job? They have stayed back here and they have run out of the money.
Well, I mean, what I would do if I'm in that position, or somebody comes to me and said, I have a student visa, I don't have money. Because remember that they are meant to have a certain amount of money, which it's meant to be for their maintenance. So if they don't have that, they can make an application. I mean, because they have it, as long as you have a right to live in this country. During COVID, if you have that problem, you can actually make an application to the Home Office that you are destitute. So, I mean, so that is what it is. You have a right to make an application. I'm not saying it will be granted, but you have a right. It's a right you have. So make the application and let's see what happens.
Yeah, it is on the case-to-case basis, isn't it?
Correct, yes. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So are you going to just give me a few cases for divorce and care proceedings?
Some cases?
Yes, and divorce and care proceedings. And also, Bumi, you know what I'm really much interested in? I know you're not going to go into deep with that, but obviously since the Brexit, lots of laws have changed, haven't they?
Yes. I mean,
so can you just enlighten us a bit on that, please?
Well, it's mainly the immigration laws in relation to EU countries. So, I mean, if you are in this country, you are students from a third country that is not Europe, outside European countries, it wouldn't affect you anyway. For example, we have the EU members who are still in this country. They are meant to actually make an application for a permanent stay. For 5 years in this country.
Right.
Yes. And this application, it has to, otherwise the EU member would not be able to work after the 31st of this year. So that application has to be made. But if you are outside the EU, it does not affect you. It's just mainly the EU. And that's the main law. It's just the immigration one that, there are other laws, but obviously, as far as people like students are concerned, that's what really affects them the most. As the immigration, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, right.
The question I want to ask on that.
Yes.
Do you need pre-settlement status to stay here?
Sorry, what was your question?
Sorry, I think the internet is playing up here right now. So do they need pre-settlement status in UK?
Yes, for the EU people.
Okay.
Yeah, that's for the EU as well.
Okay.
Status, yeah.
Okay. Wow. So, Purvi?
Yes.
Do you want to actually shout out the number then for the actual Bless Radio, please?
Sure, I can.
Right, thank you for tuning into the Bless Radio with Unity 5 platform. The live number is 079 444-31366. Live number 079-444-31366 if you'd like to call in, or send in a text and ask our sister Olubunmi Otuyemi. She's a principal solicitor and she's online today to tell you what the changes have happened. Right, let's get into this other one. I want to really talk about wills. How our people, they don't take this issue seriously.
No, unfortunately. Unfortunately.
This is very deep. I know you're very close. I don't know how close you are with this, especially this wills project, because I remember you making a video on this, and you must emphasize why it is so important to have a will.
Yes, I mean, our people, unfortunately, we are from a background that once will is mentioned, as far as our community is concerned, will seems to be synonymous to death.
Yeah, they think we're going to die.
You're
right. You're so right.
Yes, if you say to somebody, go make a will, they tell you, I'm not going to die now.
Yeah.
Why are you asking me to make a will?
Yeah, I agree with you. I can't agree with you more.
Yeah, that's our people.
Oh, Purvi, you're just so right. They get offended.
They get offended. Why are you talking to me about a will now? I'm not dying. I'm not dying right now.
Some say this, I remember my uncle saying to me, "Excuse me, what is it to you? What is it to you? It's none of your business. You know, I'm still young, and he's in his 80s, and he's saying I'm still
young." That is so right. That sounds like a typical man from our community. But unfortunately, you know, COVID has taught us a lot of things.
Yeah.
COVID has taught us that we need to put our houses in order. You know, when we say that, I'm talking about make a will, talk to your children. You know what, I know fathers whose children don't know what they have as assets. So you need to talk to your family. Mothers need to talk to their children. Father needs to do the same. Let them know what you have. I mean, it's not a secret at the end of the day. And it's so important for us to do a will because of a lot of things. Number one is it will reduce your taxes as well. Because you have to remember, especially for those who have big estates, you know, if you have £1 million estates and the government is taking 40%, that is a lot of money. Considering the fact that you've already paid taxes when you actually did the work. You've paid tax on those, but then you still have to pay inheritance tax, which is 40% of whatever you own. However, you have, they call it, if you are single, you have a rebate of 325,000. What that means is if your estate is £1 million, the tax man would not tax anything on the first 325,000 that you get free. But anything above that, you are going to be taxed 40%. So there are ways, I mean, there are all legal ways, but there are ways we can reduce your tax.
Yeah, save your money, basically. Yeah,
help you to save the money if you do your will, like right on time. That is number one. Number two, it's good for you to do a will, for you to draft a will, because you'll be able to give the people you want to take your assets.
Absolutely.
So, if you don't want Aunt Sister A or Auntie A to take your thing, just give it to the people you like to give it to in your will. Because if you die without making a will, it's either people have problems over it and they take themselves to court over this. And that it's, for me, it's normally a waste of money, especially for a lot of money, which will likely come from your estate, the estate that you've worked really hard to get. And that it's another thing is when you give out your estate before you die, which is making a will, it's fantastic because when you die, your wishes are fulfilled.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to be turning in the grave.
That's true.
That's another reason why you need to make a will. And I mean, especially to members of our community who happens to get married and divorce and get married again and again, you have to make your will.
Absolutely.
It's really important.
Yeah.
If you have 2-3 families who are still quite close family because you got married 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
You know, it's really important for you to draft your will. It's very important. Yeah.
Cool. Obviously, you can go more deep in a minute. There's one scenario I want to mention here. Yeah. Now, there's a family that I know. It's my friend's family. What they did was this. They had a daughter and a son, right? The daughter went her own way. She's established, and they had a son. They kept the son. So what they did, this is what I want you to explain the difference when you're gifting someone while you're alive and doing a will while you're alive. What they did, they said they're going to gift my son this amount of my assets, and what they've outlived the actual time period. So the son got it while they were alive.
Right.
Right. Now listen. So what's happened? The son's kicked the father out. I shouldn't laugh. Now, this is what I was so shocked because I didn't know that something like this existed. So I'll say it again because obviously you're more pressure than I am. So he outlived the time period that he put the gift on. So he said in 15 years or 10 years, my son will be gifted this asset of mine, and he's in charge and he can do whatever he's like. Now the son's taken in charge, so which means the father has no control over it now.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Well, I mean, I think it's the father who just wants to relax about it, let me say. Because when you make a will, and in your will, if I make a will now, for instance, and I say to my daughter, you know, in 10 years' time, I want you to take the house over at Heathrow Airport, for instance. And I'm still alive. If I say 10 years, on the 12th year, the girl comes and says to me, Mommy, I want to take the property because you promised I will take the property after 10 years. You have to remember that I'm still alive. So the only time my will kicks in, it's when I'm dead.
So what's this scenario then? When he's actually
that scenario, that's why I said the father is probably just decided to relax, but because it doesn't have to. It does not have to. If I say in my will after my death, 10 years old. Okay, right. If I say in my will 10 years or after my death, whichever one is earlier. So if I'm still alive and 10 years comes and goes, then I have to, because it's a promise I've made to my child.
Yeah, that's what the son did. So the son's taking all assets. Yeah.
I decided to give it to my child anyway. But it doesn't mean that I can't live on that property anymore because it will still be in my name, remember? It will still be in my name. And that's why I said the dad is just, I think he's just been a good dad, basically.
Yes, he's a very nice.
I'm just going to relax about this.
Yeah.
Because he can decide to go to court because your will is meant to kick in after your death, not before.
Right. Maybe he doesn't know.
Yeah, maybe he doesn't know, but it's only after, not before.
All right. So, what other kinds of wills do we have? Do we have separate wills, or
we have? Well, in drafting a will,
in particular, you could just make a will and say, "Look, it's going to be. I'm going to give it to this one." Yep.
Yeah. Well, in making we have what we call a single will. That's for single people. So, if a single person wants to make a will, we'll make that will, and then we have what is known as couples will, as the name indicates. So, I'm married, my husband and I would go into a solicitor or wherever we want to go and make our will. We'll make our will. In my will, I'll say if I die before my husband inherits everything, and vice versa. So he will also make a will and say, even if I die before my wife, everything goes to my wife. So the last person standing out of the couple would then have another will after the other person is deceased.
Right.
So if everything I have goes to my husband and I die, after my death, my husband has to go in and make another will.
Yeah, that's understandable. Yeah.
So I mean, those are the two common wills we have in the UK. All the others are just, I mean, I know we have something called holographic, which it's the all those ones. Those are the two main wills.
Right. And obviously, then you draft. Sorry, go on. Sorry, you were saying, Bumi?
I said those are the two main wills.
Right.
Yes, we have. There are about 5 or 6 altogether, but I mean, the commonest ones are the first two that has just been discussed.
Right. You see, and the reason why I asked you about wills is because it's so important that we actually go and do one, whether it's even something. Some people don't say. There's some people say, "Oh, we've got no assets anyway, so it doesn't bother me," and they don't bother doing a will.
Yeah.
Let's talk about something a bit. I don't know if you're.
Sorry, darling. Can I just quickly say that in the last thing about wills is, if you make a will, and if there are important occasions after you make your will, you need to update your will. So I just generally say to my clients, try and update your will every 5 years.
Okay.
Because the thing is, you make a will, say at the age of 40, single, and you have little children. And one of them grows up and have a child. You know, that's a major milestone in the family's life, because you have a grandchild. And that grandchild, I'm sure you would like to include the grandchild in your will. So any major milestone that you get to, I always advise my clients to update their will. Either you decide to buy 10 years after you made your first will, you decide to buy a house.
Right.
That needs to go in the will. So you need to update the will. So that's just
right. One question just coming onto my text right now on my mobile. She's asking, can we do a will towards our death? Like, so how they would like to be buried, or where? Can they do something on that?
For me, you know, when I do, it's very funny that listener will ask that question. You know, when I do my will, I mean, when I help my clients, I normally ask them, like, you know, depending on your religion, do you want a song at your funeral, during your funeral? I put it in for them. Where would you like to be buried? Do you want to go to church, mosque, your religion, anything it is? Do you want me to put it in there? Do you want a particular pastor to preach at your funeral? I put it in there. So I normally try and do a detailed will.
Right.
My clients, because it's better, because that's your last wishes.
Absolutely.
That is it. After that, you can't make any more wishes.
Yeah. Wow. She asked that question just now.
Question?
Sorry.
Can I ask you one question?
Oh, go on.
So what is the right age to make a will?
Well, I mean, there's no right age, because some people get married at 20, some get married at 30. The thing is, when you are no more a single person, even some single people can actually make a will, because once you buy maybe you have a property and you are not married, it's best for you to make a will. If you buy your first property at age 20, that is an asset. That is your estate. It's going into your estate. If, for instance, you decide to buy shares, Amazon, BT, any shares, you can make a will. If anything happens to me, I want my shares to go to this person. So, I mean, it depends. I can't tell you you should make your will at 40. No, because if there are things that you've done in life, some people are quite fast in doing things. They do their things. They get married early. They get a job early. They buy their first house quite early than their classmates. Then you need to make a will.
So when you are taking the understanding is when you are taking a milestone, making a milestone in your life, you need to make a will.
Yes.
It will affect you in a later date, or affect people around you in a later date.
Yes, I agree with that. Yes.
Okay, I have another question to ask you.
Yes.
what is this trust system?
The trust.
You should make it in a trust so you don't get an inheritance tax, or you don't get this tax, you don't get that tax.
Well, I'll tell you, that's actually a very deep subject you've just touched there. As far as a trust, if you have 2 little children, and say for instance you have 500,000, and you want to keep it for these children to certain age, you don't want to just come and squander this money if you open an account for them, because if you open an account for them, they will have access in a lot of time to that account after 18, right?
Yeah.
So you can decide to set up a trust. So you have trustees. You need about 2 or 3 trustees. It's up to you. And you set up a trust. Maybe you decide to give each child 200,000, but you put it in trust for them, which means you can say, for instance, I'm putting this in trust for you until you are 21. I've seen somebody said until you are 25. So that means that child will not have access to that money until they're about 25 years old. And the reason is, children, we know, our children are they can decide to spend money. They don't think about money. But when they get to that age of about 25, they become a lot wiser. Between 18, say 16 and 20, they don't care about money. So that's why some people put it at an older age, 25. I've seen a trust made at 30, that the child should not get the money until the child is 30 years old. So that's what a trust is. It's just keeping, and obviously they are going to invest the money as well. So the money is not just going to sit in the bank. That money will be invested, and interest will be given back, will be put back into the account. So that's what the trust is.
Yeah, but that money, who is going to invest that money? Is it the bank who's going to invest that money?
No, it's not the bank. You see, when you do a trust, a lot of insurance people, I know they do trust, but you can do it yourself. Solicitors do help draft a trust. Yeah. And what happens is, if you have 3 people you trust, for instance, ABC, let's call them ABC. So if you make ABC your trustees to your children's trust, you can give them instructions that, okay, you want them to invest the money. Probably you can decide that I want you to invest that money in property. So the 3 trustees would invest the money. But please make sure when you are choosing a trustee, it has to be people you trust that would not mismanage the money. It have to be people you trust. So you can inform them or delegate them to actually invest the money. So they will invest the money. Or for instance, if you do it with an insurance company, the insurance companies, a lot of them, they have a board of trustees anyway. So they will invest that money. And your children will not be able to have access to the money until that age that you specified.
And do we pay any taxes on that if you have made the trust?
Sorry?
Do we pay any taxes on that?
Do you get any taxes?
Do we pay any taxes?
Oh, no. Because the thing is with tax, you have to actually go for advised tax. Because there are ways, for instance, assets. There are things you can do with your assets that even though the assets, the estate is more than £325, you won't pay a lot of taxes. So it's a fact that you have to go and sit down with your tax person, maybe a tax lawyer, your accountant. They will tell you how you would not pay so much taxes on your estate when the time comes. So on the money that you've invested or you've kept there for your children, not for your trust, it's a trust anyway, so it's going to be there. All the interest on that, on where the money is invested, obviously will be taxed on in that area. So, but obviously, if you invest 10p, you are not going to get 10p back. It has to be maybe 25p, if you know, understand what I'm saying. So because it's been invested, and the investment has ripe, and you would, even though it's going to be taxed, it is not from your bulk money that you invested. You will be on the interest.
Hi. All right. How you doing? Hello.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm okay. Yourself?
Good. I've been listening to you. Very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah. For those who are listening, you can get if you've missed any information, you can go to Bless Radio 1 YouTube, the number 1, and you can hear what our lady guest was saying. Yeah. All right, my sister, how are you? Ready?
Yes. Go.
Right. You was talking about the will. Right. I'm going to
Yes.
go into what you were just saying there. Yeah.
Yes.
What happens? What I've noticed in certain families, that when there is a case of the will, in one particular case, one of them hid the will, so there's no will available. Yeah. So the question
Yes.
is, if that person knows the will and hides the will, and still shares out the property without the reading of the will or according to the will, is that legal?
It's not. That's illegal.
Yeah, but nobody's gonna know. Well, no, you understand? They're gonna think that it's okay.
Can I just say, if I have my father, and my father has 3 children, that means that, sorry, my father has 5 children. That means I have 4 siblings.
Mhm.
The truth of the matter is, I might not have seen the will, but I'm sure my father would mention that he had a will. So when he passes on, I will say to the people, you know, my father told me he had a will. I don't understand why my sister is saying to me he didn't have a will.
Mhm.
And then that can be challenged.
Mhm.
Because if my sister says to me, our father didn't have a will, we didn't have a will, you know, we just have to divide these things, I'm going to say, no, he told me, and I know my father would not lie. So how do you want us to divide the thing? You tell me. Because in a lot of cases, the reason why people do that is as a result of fraud.
Mhm.
Maybe your father is giving you a lot of things they are aware of, and they think, well, he doesn't really deserve this. Why did dad give him 5 houses or 2 houses, and he's only giving me 1?
Yeah.
So in most cases, it's just jealousy and fraud.
Mhm.
So
Okay,
that-
Bless.
even
Yeah.
though you don't have the physical will, or you've not seen it, but you can actually go to court and challenge it. The decision, what your sister is saying, you can go to court. And I mean, just you tell the court your part of the story. It's up to court who they believe.
Yeah, but my sister, the person. Yeah. Sorry. My sister, the person. According to what I've got here, the person that did that is the appointee. The appointee is the one with the documents. Everybody knows that person is the appointee, but the appointee won't.
Right, I'm going to ask a question here, Bless, to you. Now, is the will made in UK, number 1? And
Yes,
number 2,
yes.
Okay, hold on. Number 2, Bumi, if you can also clarify on this. I think I know where Bless is coming from, because
No,
that's
you
happened
don't.
to me as well. Now, if a will's been made, is there a legal documentation
It's on.
apart from the appointee? Is there submitted somewhere else? So if you have to go and find
No,
out,
no,
is there
no,
a channel?
no, Unity. No, it's not going that way. Listen to the story, right? My lady solicitor, we're building a scenario here, yeah? Sorry about that, Unity. Right, so far you're saying, because what's happened, because of this lockdown and this and that, and a lot of people going away and all of this stuff, a lot of people are beginning to put wills together, and they're leaving maybe the oldest son or the oldest daughter in charge of the will. That person is now the appointee. Everybody knows that this person's the appointee. So what the appointee does, instead of the appointee reads out the will and make everybody aware of what's going on, that person shares out what they feel to share out and doesn't do according to the will. That's what I'm saying. If the person is an appointee, then what happens?
Yeah. Okay, so that's the executor. For instance, my father decided to draft a will. He had a will and decided to make the first child. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
The first child of the family, an executor is called actually.
Yeah.
Executor of that will. You know, unfortunately, in a lot of cases like that, you might not be able to prove anything. Especially, and this is why I say to my clients, please register your will.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
There's will register. Yeah. There's what is called a will register, which the government controls. Make sure you register it.
Right.
And because when you register it, you leave a copy there.
Yeah, but there is a copy, my dear. There is a copy.
Well, then that's fine then. That's what I'm trying to get at.
No, that's what I'm saying, my dear.
Way of getting the other copy.
No. What do I call you? Sister.
Olu, just call me Olu, yes.
Oli, Sister Oli.
Olu.
That's what I'm saying. The appointee has the will. Yeah?
Yes.
The other sister has a copy of the will.
Oh, that's quite straightforward.
Right, so that the appointee has already shared out the asset and the land, but the sister has the will.
Okay, can I just ask you? So this happened in this country.
Yes.
The sister needs to go to court.
Yeah.
The younger sister needs to go to court, and court, especially if the father, because they all the time they have to respect the dead's last wishes. So whatever is in that will, it will stand. So even if you have shared it, then you have to be responsible, because you see, to be an executor of a will, it's a big deal, because you have to share the assets as wished by the deceased. If you don't, then they're going to take it off you personally. Because if the younger lady goes to court, I can tell you she's going to win. And the older lady is going to be responsible for whatever the judgment is.
So does the older brother has to pay back the money, or does all the siblings have to give back the money?
The older brother, whatever the younger lady should get, she's going to get it. She will get it back if they go to court.
So can she make...
Yeah, especially if there is a will in black and white, I'm telling you, she will get it back. Right,
she's got the will. So her welfare is that her little brothers and sisters also get something. So that means because it's been shared out amongst the uncles and the aunties, as it normally does go, can she...
No, it shouldn't.
Well, that's what's happened.
No, it shouldn't.
That's what's happened.
Uncles and aunties are out of it.
No, but that's...
Just do the siblings.
Yeah, but it's been shared amongst the rest of the aunties and uncles.
Then, isn't it?
So who pays the money back and who gives back the land?
The person who shared it. The person has to get it.
Yeah.
Is it that you go and get those things back from the people you gave them to, or you have to pay for it yourself? That's what I'm sure. I mean, that's a lot of courts. That will be the judgment. I can tell you that.
I'll tell you one more thing, Bless. While we're on this topic, the best person to get this solved for you, and you might as well give your case to Bumi.
No, I'm not.
I mean, if I look at it, I'll just look at it and I'll tell you, honest. The young lady will get everything the father that is drafted in the will for her to get. She's going to get everything back. I'm telling you, you can't. You have to follow the will to the letter, to the dotted I and the crossed T.
And the best thing is it's registered, you see, so you got proof there.
Yeah, it's registered. It's registered for everything's registered. The sister's got a copy of the will, and the older brother has shared it up and left the other siblings out.
So how I don't understand how he's able to get away with that though.
Because the father left the will in the brother and the sister's name. They are, both of them are appointee.
Yes, so I mean, if both of us are appointee, and my brother did not act as the will wished or drafted in the will, I'll go to court.
Okay.
And she and the brother, I'm telling you, will even pay for the legal fees. Yes.
You know what? I'm good at this, you know. Trust me. God is good, man. God is good. God is very good. God is very, very good. Trust me. I tell you, I got a big smile on my face. You don't know what you done for me, my dear. Right, so
I think it's shining across the phone.
no, you know what? You know what I like about you? You sound determined. It's not what you're saying, you know. You sound like you're representing the person. Just the way you
have
do,
to, I mean,
yeah, just the way you say things in for most of the show. You're not just speaking like an ordinary solicitor what wants your money. No. You speak like a solicitor that's ready for battle.
Yeah, she treats everyone like a family.
You have to, I mean, you have to fight for your clients, you know.
Yeah, but you sound like a fighter.
Thank you very much. That's a compliment, actually. Thank you.
Don't worry. I'm going to get someone to employ you.
Okay.
Definitely.
Just send her the cases, bless.
Nah, but some people, I know some good criminals. Well, they're not good criminals, but they're good criminals. They will need your help.
Oh, please. I'm here.
Don't worry.
Please.
Don't worry. I'll get them to call you.
Can I just say quickly before we finish also, there's something called power of attorney. I don't know if people, your listeners have heard about it.
Power of attorney.
These are, well, they're not called wills, but for me, it's a living will. Because if anybody falls ill unexpectedly, in the power of attorney, it says who is going to take care of you, who is going to take care of your finances. If the doctor called and said, I want to speak to the next of kin, is the person that is the power of attorney that you speak to. So it's very important, especially our parents. It's very important we advise them to do the power of attorney.
So
in case they falls ill and we are not around, maybe we are at work and they have to be taken into hospital, then who are we to call? Who is your next of kin? Who is your power of attorney? Who have you given your power of attorney to?
Yeah, but sometimes people give the power of attorney to more than one person. Does that cause confusion?
Yes.
Is that confusing or is that okay?
It's okay because you see, if you and I, if we have the same father, for instance, and dad decides to give it to both of us.
Yeah.
One person, I won't be able to just manipulate him because he's old and take all his money. You will be there to supervise me, and it works both ways. And that is why, because I've seen cases of one power of attorney that actually turned sour because the young man took out all mommy's money. And he was spending it on himself because he had the power of attorney.
Okay. So that's a bad thing.
Yeah, usually the case.
Well, it could be. I mean, if you have a good son like yourself, you probably won't spend mommy's money.
Now, I would share the money equally. I wouldn't rob nobody, you know. I wouldn't rob nobody. I try to be a just person, but if I have to come down heavy,
exactly.
That's it.
Exactly.
You know,
some people are not. Some men are not.
Yeah.
You know, so that's why sometimes it's good to have two attorneys.
Okay, we've talked a lot about law. Go on, Uni. Go on.
No, I didn't say anything. It was Bumi.
Oh, Boo, go on.
Sorry.
Yeah, go on, Bumi.
Oh, okay. Basically, we have two types. We have the finance and we have the medical. The finance is you can pay your parents, you can support them and pay their rents when due if they are in hospital. Anything to do with their finances, you'll be in charge of it. And then we have the health. So, for instance, they are not able to take decision. Maybe they are admitted at the hospital and they need to do a procedure, for instance, at the hospital. Somebody has to take the decision. Yes, you can do it. Go ahead, don't worry. Then the person that is in charge of the medical power of attorney is the person the hospital will contact.
When you say medical power of attorney, is there more than one type of power of attorney?
Yes, one is finance.
One is finance and one is medical.
But we have this it's called social medical, yes. So in case they need medical, you are not around, you've gone to work, dad or mom collapsed at home, they need to do a procedure. You will be the one they call to find out, oh, is it okay for us to do this to mom, you know? And then you would say, oh, I've got the power of attorney, yes, go ahead. Or please don't, I'm on my way.
Okay, so I didn't know there was two. I thought there was just one power of attorney and everybody puts their name on it.
Yeah, the most common one, because that's finance, you know?
Okay.
We have the medical one as also, which is called social.
Okay, all right, cool. My sister Omi, I'd like to talk about you now, yeah? What made you get into law in the first place?
You know what? I was born and I grew up in Nigeria, Africa, and I studied there, and I was actually a teacher. I did education. I was teaching in a secondary school. But you know, in Africa, you are allowed to do a lot of things you are not allowed to do in this country. I know I'm on the radio, but still, things like your student is not doing very well, you are allowed to punish them, like kneel down, your hands up, and all that. But then I decided to come into this country, to the UK, and I found that that is not allowed. If you do that, you can go to prison. And I thought to myself, okay, what am I going to do? Because that means what I love to do, which is obviously teaching at the time, I couldn't continue with it. So I decided to go in for law. I mean, I've always loved seeing lawyers, but then I wasn't into it. I rather help children, you know, support them with their studies and things like that. So that was why I decided to study education in the first place. So my journey from Nigeria to the United Kingdom, I think, and I came, and the law is so different, so different. And I thought, okay, let me go in for law. And that's the reason I decided to go into law.
Well, my dear, you made a good decision, and I am going to help you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you're going to work for me.
Okay.
Right. Question number 2. Right. What was your best case in all your cases? What you've done? What's the best one that stands out for you?
My best case, I have quite a few of them, but I'll tell you, because I love children. I love children a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm involved with a lot of care cases. Care cases is when, I'm sure a lot of people know that, when social services are involved with families and they're taking children from families, you know. And I found out that not in all cases that you need to take these children from their parents, because no matter what, in most cases, 80%, 85% of times, I found out that the best place for children to grow up is with their parents. So I got involved with this family. They have 3 children. The social services are bent on taking the children away from the parents because they were negligent. They left them at home, and they were so young. They were, I think they were 9, 7, and 4 at the time. I'll never forget. They are young boys and girls now. I mean, one of them is actually married now, and I got involved in that because I thought it is not right. Because I found out that the parents actually went to work because they don't want to be on benefit, they said. So both of them went to work. They left the children at home. I know it's wrong. It's very wrong. Not that I'm trying to encourage that. I'm not. So please, listeners, don't do it. But I had to fight for the parents. And in fighting for the parents, I knew I was fighting for the children as well, because I think I'm not saying foster parents are fantastic. They are doing a swell job, but I think the best place for children is, so that's one of my best cases I loved, because I won the case for the children to go back home, and I'll never forget that case.
Yeah, that's good, right? Because I needed to know what was your most successful case and thing, and how you felt after that.
Oh God, I was pleased with myself because, all these cases, they normally take a long time because of documents to read and all that. So, I felt really good after that particular case because the parents were crying. They were, gosh, it wasn't nice. Let me say.
Okay. Any other cases that you'd like to tell us about that was like really like tense, but you battled hard? What's your hardest case that you won, the hardest one?
Well, the hardest one, because I also do a lot of crime cases. It was a murder case of
somebody. Just say somebody.
A young child. Obviously teenager, not young child. When I say a young child, he was, I think he was about 15 at the time when he was killed. Even though I cried actually in relation to that case because the boy was just too young. For me, he was a baby. I call them baby, 14, 15, 16, Yeah. Even though it was a case we struggled with when we went in for that case at the Old Bailey. But we count it as a successful, because it was a friend to the deceased. They were friends. But they were playing with something they were not meant to be playing with, which is basically knives. And they one ended up being dead, basically. So it was, even though, because the intention of killing that young man was not there for this other guy. They were just playing very, very rough. And at that age, you think you know everything. It's not that we actually, because he went to prison, I must say. But the reason we count it as success, that we're successful, was basically the judge would have sent him down for about at least 20 years. And we were able to get 10 years. And you know what? The mother of the deceased, I respect her so much. She was also glad that the young boy was not sent down for life. Until today, the two families communicate. And for me, that was a success. The boy is out now. He's been released now because it was nearly about 10 years ago this happened. He's been released now and he's changed. He's turned his life around. And all that. So in fact, he's still under my wings, I must say. So it's another success. As far as I'm concerned, it was a success, even though he went to prison. Yeah,
but it's accidental death, isn't it? It's accidental death. So, any of you ladies want to say something before I get back in there again?
No, you carry on, because I want to hear what else you want to ask her.
Okay.
Yes, me too. I really want to hear what you're going to ask her.
Okay. Can Unity be arrested for assaulting me?
That is so funny. That is so funny.
Listen, I'm going to say something though.
That's all right. It's all right. All right. Tell us a little bit more about Tell us a little bit more about.
Wait. Ask her. I want to say.
Go on.
Can we arrest Bless for harassing Unity?
Don't worry.
No, we shall not.
They like when
Oli, we're just joking here, but honest to God, bless is actually, the word bless describes him the best. That's what I can say.
Yeah.
He chose the right word for himself. He's a fantastic man.
I
know, without even telling me honestly. The conversation has been interesting.
Nah,
yeah.
You see,
very interesting man.
This is what it is, You see, when you fall and your back's against the wall and there's nowhere to go, God comes for you.
Yes.
Yeah? And when he comes for you and you see God for yourself, nobody can't tell you anything. And that gives you that boldness anytime you fall. You know that God will pick you up.
That would describe me, Unity knows a bit about myself.
Yeah. I don't want to say anything. I don't think we will. We'll tell Bless separately. But one thing I'll tell you about Oli.
I didn't want to talk about it, but, since he brought something up that,
Yeah, I know. Because we have shed tears together, me and Bumi together.
Yes.
That's how close we've become.
Yes.
I will say something, Bless, about Bumi. She's a very, apart from her work, she's a very strong woman. She has, is it sickle cell, Bumi?
It is, yes.
This lady has this condition and she still has not stopped working. She takes her work home, Bless. She never stops, and she's told her where she's employed, look, if I can't work from the office because of my condition, I'm taking it home. This is how dedicated and strong this woman is.
Okay. A muscle lady. All right, then. Back to you, Sister. I call you Ollie, yeah? Right.
Yeah.
Right. Tell us a little bit more about legal aid, because what's happening, a lot of people are going through certain things, especially with their finance. They're losing their homes, and a whole heap of different things is going on, not just the homes alone, but legal aid. What would be the easiest way, or who is entitled to legal aid?
Hello?
Yeah.
Yes. So, I mean, the general rule is your right to apply for legal aid.
Mm-hmm.
So, as long as you pay taxes and all that. However, not everybody will be entitled. Not everybody will be granted legal aid.
So what if you're unemployed?
Sorry.
What if you're unemployed?
If you're unemployed, if you're on universal credit, for instance, you will be entitled, but it depends on what application you want to make. So, for instance, it's a criminal matter.
Mm-hmm.
You automatically be entitled, especially if it's a criminal matter that if it goes to court, you are likely to be imprisoned. You'll be entitled to it. However, there's some criminal matter that you are not likely to be imprisoned, even if you are found guilty. Things like common assault, things like traffic offenses. You are not likely to go to prison for those type of offenses, except if it's like excess alcohol and you've gone through the court system once or twice. That is a different story. So in those type of cases, if you apply for legal aid, you will get it. Things like murder, even if you earn 100K, if you are arrested for murder, you'll be entitled to legal aid.
What? And you earn a lot of money?
And if you, you'll be entitled, because such cases will definitely go to either a crown court or courts like the Old Bailey, which are higher courts.
Yeah.
So they would grant you the legal aid. You'd be granted definitely if it's a criminal matter like that. So things like assault, occasioning bodily harm. That one you might get, you might not get. It's right there in the middle somewhere. Criminal damage over £5,000. So such cases you will get legal aid. I mean, I have there's a case recently. It's in possession of firearms. For some reason, the gentleman it was somewhere in Essex, went to a solicitor there.
Yeah.
And they actually told him, oh, you're not entitled, you have to pay privately for this, blah, blah. Unfortunately, the guy works, but you only earn something less than £30,000 per annum. Mm-hmm. So the guy came to London. I think somebody gave him my telephone number. And we did his legal aid form. We sent it off to the legal aid office. They've granted his application. So, I mean, it's worth the solicitor at least try and make the application. Okay.
When it comes to because a lot of going back to the lockdown thing, there's a lot of physical abuse going on out there. A lot of people can't get on with their husband, and the wives in the house, she just realized that he's this and she's just realized that they're that. Yeah. Now, what is the legal for the woman to leave? Yeah. How can she leave legally and without that man hunting her down?
You see, with domestic violence, it's quite easy for you and I to say to somebody that is being abused, because it works both ways.
Yeah.
Women can be abused, men can also be abused.
Yeah, I know women that abuse man. I know them. I know them. Unity. I know them. I know the women that beat their man.
In that type of cases, it takes a long time for people who are being abused to know that, yes, I'm being abused. And please don't blame anybody, because it's not as easy as we think that it is. If you have never been in that type of relationship, it's not easy. So if eventually, what you can do is talk to someone that you know would not talk to other people, someone you know that will actually help you. Because in some cases, what you can do is you can either go to a refuge, run away from the relationship, go to a refuge. There's no way, nobody in the refuge will tell the partner where the other person is. Yeah,
but still, I'm just saying, some man them will go out there and look for the woman. What can she do to keep herself safe from him legally?
Well, the thing is, you can make an application. You can actually make an application to court.
Yeah.
Like a non-molestation order.
Yes. Restraining, non-molestation or restraining order. That's what a lot of people do. You can make an application, and then it's a case of you are not allowed to go to certain number of miles from where she is. Yeah. There are all sorts of conditions attached to that, and if that is actually breached, it then becomes a criminal matter. And the person that has breached that order can actually go to prison. Yeah. So it's that's the best thing to do. And then if you can get a refuge, in a lot of cases, refuge people are not able to trace where they are, especially if you don't let many people know where you are. You can tell a trusted person or two.
Okay, so can you get legal aid for example, now a woman for custody order, like a woman's trying to get custody from her children, for her children, from somebody else who's not the mother? Can they get legal aid for that?
Who is not the mother?
No, the mother wants to get custody of her child.
You can. It depends. That is means tested. So it depends on how much she earns.
She doesn't earn anything.
Then she should be able to get. She has to go through the family legal aid.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
That's good, man. Any ladies, you got some questions to ask? Because I didn't write down a lot, but I got a couple still. Unity, anything you'd like to ask? And Purvi?
Well, no, nothing much, except for one thing I'm going to try and talk about, which we didn't talk about, was ancillary relief and financial proceedings. Now, you said to me that works in both ways, whether it's to do with divorce or talk about financial proceedings as well when it comes to...
Okay, I'll just touch on that quickly, yes. Okay. So, it used to be known as ancillary relief. A lot of people still call it that, but it's now financial proceedings. What that simply means is, I'm married to Mr. A. We fell out of love. Before we fell out of love, we had two houses, for instance, or a house, maybe the one we live in, and we've been living in the house for X number of years. And it could be that it's in both names, or it could be that it's just in the man's name. It does not matter. The fact is, you've used it as a family home for X number of years, and now we are divorced. Because you have to make an application for divorce, and it has to go through, or nearly going through, before you can make an application for a financial proceeding. So at that stage, when it's nearly going through, maybe you've received your decree, and all that, you can then make an application for financial proceedings to the family court. And what that simply means is, because we've lived together for X number of years with this man or with this woman, and you've relied on each other one way or the other. Maybe one is working, one is not working at some time. Anyway, you're trying to say, okay, this is our house, this is our family home. So
we're still like a family
on there.
Yeah.
Even if my name is not on there, I can still take you to court to say, okay, you have to sell this property or you buy me out. So if the house is worth, when we bought the house, say we bought the house 100,000, and the house is now 250,000, for instance, that means we have an equity of about 150. What the court will do is they will look at your outstanding mortgage if there's still anything left to pay. And then usually it starts on 50-50. If you are married, make sure you are married before you start living with him. Because when you are not married, then it's up to a number of points they will have to look at. But if you are married, it's easier. I mean, I'm not saying people who are not married and living together won't get anything. I'm not saying that at all. But if you are married and you are Mr. and Mrs., it's easier. Because what happens is it starts from 50-50. That is what court, that is the sharing ratio. However, they might look at certain points in order to decide if somebody is getting more or the other person is getting less.
Yeah.
So, for example, one of the things they look at is if you have children, and for instance, the children are going to be living with me, and I don't have the means to buy a property, then the court might say, okay, you get 60, the other person. There are a number of points they look at.
I get it.
Salary. They look at a number of things.
Yeah. Now this is why Bumi, I think a lot of people are going for prenups, aren't they? Really?
Yes, that is. If you go prenup, you know, in the United Kingdom, the courts are not actually bound by prenup, but they look at it. They take it and they consider it. And it's always better if one party thinks, oh, I'm not sure about this person I'm getting married to. It could be that he wants me for my money. I don't know. So I'll say, okay, let's go for prenup. I've got a young lady who came into the office today to collect her own because her parents said, no, if you are getting married to anybody, you have to do. And she wants to get married to this young man.
Right.
So they have to go for the prenup.
Yeah, see? It's very common in America, I know that for a fact.
It is, yeah. It's something that has just been introduced to the UK matrimonial system.
But do you know what?
Well, it's not just, I mean, it's been years, but compared to with the States, yeah.
Yeah, but having said that, Bumi, you know what it is, yeah? I've noticed that when you talk about prenup, lots of the couples get offended as well.
They do. Because this particular couple, I mean, I had to take the young man aside and talk to the young man because I said, if you really love her, then it shouldn't matter. Because the way he looks at it is, she doesn't trust him. And I said, no, in this case, it's the parents. So, I mean, if you love her, then just do what you have to do.
Exactly. Know? Yeah.
Thank you for that. The quick question I want to ask is, do you advise people to go for a prenup when they're deciding to get married?
Sorry. Hello?
Hi, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. It's better now, yes.
Yeah. So my question is, will you advise people to go into prenup before they get married?
You know what? If any of my children has a property and has 100,000 bank account and they're going to get married, I'll tell them to. So for me, I'll say yes, because if the person really loves you, then it shouldn't be a big deal, really.
Yeah, I agree.
It shouldn't be a big deal. If they really love you, it's only when they want to marry you for your money, then there will be a big problem.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, Bumi, if you're going to marry someone and do a prenup and then you have children and family, automatically you're going to be entitled to something anyway because of the kids and the family.
Of course.
You do
and you're married. Now, Mr. and Mrs. You know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to ask you one more question before Bless shoots off and asks this question.
Okay.
Would you advise people to go into insurance, like personal insurance?
You know, if you work all this American show, life insurance is reasons lots of people kill themselves.
Yeah.
However, it's really important you have one for your kids, for your family.
Yeah, my friend's done that.
A lot of people are saying to me, oh, but look at all this American show, it's people have insurance, they kill themselves. Well, unfortunately, we don't kill ourselves in the United Kingdom. So
yeah. And there are different types of insurance you can do. I know that as well. So
there are different types. We can talk about insurance as well, maybe at a later show.
Later show, because there's a big show that's a very big show that is.
So it's really important. And then I can even come with somebody who would be able to talk more.
Yes, we'll do a second show on that, definitely, Bumi.
Yeah, because big insurance is a big thing. You can do insurance for your employment as well in case you lose your employment. You can do for health reasons. There are lots of insurance.
You can do it for your property.
Your content insurance, for instance. There are lots of different insurance.
Yeah, travel insurance, abroad insurance.
Exactly, all those things. Yeah.
We'll do a part B on that. And Bless, would you like to ask Bumi anything?
Yeah, verbal insurance for you people the women them that verbally abuse the man them. Right. Right. I'm not saying all the women are bad, but I have to represent the man them because these ladies are not help backing the man them at all. So I have to stand up for at least a couple of them.
You're the only man amongst them. That's why.
Oh, thank you. That's all good still. But what we're gonna do, because the man them, it seems like the man them don't have not much of a rights when it comes to the legal battle between children. Now, straight up,
that's not true, though. That's not true.
Yeah, but this is
I know people say that.
Yeah, a lot of people say that. So this is what I want to ask you: which is it true? Who stands more right when they're fighting for the children?
Can I just say something? Number one, if you got married to this person, automatically both of your names will be on the children's birth certificate. So obviously, if anything happens, both of you have 50-50 rights, 50% rights.
So what if his name? But what if the father's name is not on the birth certificate? Because that may be the case in the time that we're living in.
That is the problem. That is where the problem is.
Yes.
So if you marry a woman, or not even marry, no, because obviously if you marry, it will be automatic. But if you are dating a lady and she got pregnant, as soon as she's giving birth, make sure you go with the lady to register the birth of the child. Because if you are not there when the registration takes place, you are not allowed to put your name on it because she can't.
You got a good point there.
She can't. So you have to make sure you go with the woman to tell the registrar that I agree, I'm the father. Then they will, because she can't, because you are not married, they might think maybe you don't agree. That's why you are not here to register the birth of the child with the lady. So your name will never go on the birth certificate.
Right.
Even if you are not married and you're able to go to the registration of the birth with the woman and your name is on there, I'm telling you, you have the same rights as that when it comes to contacts in court.
Yeah.
Right.
There are lots of other points they look at.
Yeah.
Like, are you responsible? Do you smoke? Do you do drugs? Do you work? Do you have the job? They look at the same point between the man and the woman, and the judge will decide it's better for the child to live with this person and for the non-residential parents to have contact. So, but at least you have the same right.
Right.
So you can do that. But if you are not on the birth certificate, that's a big problem.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm glad we bring this thing up because a lot of man has got, well, not a lot of man, couple of man them has got children out there, and when the girls don't want the man to see the youth anymore, the man them is going on away like, it's my youth, I want to see my youth, you can't stop me from seeing my youth. But the man them need to realize this point that we just talked about here is that try to be there when the child is registered. Then you will have more of a right to say that. Yeah, you will have a legal right to say that. Yeah. But my point is that if your name ain't on the birth certificate, you don't have no right to say that verbally. No, not legally. You don't.
No, the only way you can have the right, though, is if you say to the court that I am 100% sure I'm the father of this child, then court will tell you, then do a DNA test.
Yeah, that's the only way.
So, because if the DNA test is done and it comes back you are the father, then you have the same rights.
Yeah, and then you got to pay all that maintenance that you owe.
Well, you know what? Oh, God, I can't your mouth. That's the reason why, when you said, women get all the kids, the reason they get the kids, I understand that, because they're going to look after them, whatever. But men, when they're given the chance to go and see the children, they don't do that either.
Yes, in some cases you're right there. So, you know.
Yeah, the duck and dive, yeah.
Not duck and dive, man. They're busy.
Sometimes man does not want any connection with the children.
Yes, some of them don't. So.
Yeah. Only when they're 16, 17, I'm your dad. I'm here.
Yeah.
But the woman's done all the hard work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Or during the graduation or when the child is getting married. Now I'm the dad.
Yeah.
Dad, man. Yeah, mama didn't let me see you. No, daddy, I don't think so.
Yeah, I hear that still. I want to talk a little bit about I know. I want to talk a little bit about something else that we're not aware of. A lot of people are not aware of. Is this thing called, what is common law? Actually, what law do you study? Okay. Which law do you come under first?
Now, we obviously the United Kingdom, we don't have in Africa, for instance. I'll say something. In Africa, you know, when you live with a woman or a man and you are not married, then you are referred to as common law wife. If you've lived with them for at least 5 years,
okay,
then you become a common law wife. That means you are a traditional wife, even though you are not legally married to them. But the United Kingdom, they don't have the law. They don't have common law because theirs is, common law. Common law is not written. Common law is not written. So they do that in Africa a lot because, it's like, I've been living with you, everybody have seen us and they think we are married, even though we are not married. I'm a common law wife. But that is not recognized in the United Kingdom. So because they don't have unwritten, it's unwritten law.
What do you mean unwritten? How can a law be unwritten? What do you mean unwritten law? Why? What is it's a law, but it's unwritten?
You see, unwritten is something like an habit. So people have been living together, even though they are meant to get married, but they are not married, but they're living together. Or if you see me every time going out taking a walk every day and going out with my dog A. If you see me every day with that dog, even if I'm not the owner of that dog, you think I'm the owner. So it's not written anywhere that I'm not the owner or I'm the owner, but people, the perspective is like, oh, I see her every day. So that perception is like, oh, she must be the owner of that dog, but she's not. So these are unwritten law. We have a lot of unwritten law, especially in Africa. That they judge things as they see, not as is written down.
So that means somebody who has, like, for example, their human rights, like their freedom to do this and freedom to do that, is that also common law?
It's not common law. We have, in the UK, there are human rights law. They are all written.
Yeah.
They are all written down. Like if you have a right of family, so let's assume I'm not British, and because I'm not British, even though I have a husband and 2 or 3 children, even though I'm not British, I have a right to live in this country because of them. Because I've been living with them, say, 10 years or more. So there is a law that gives me the right to live with them. the right of a family. So you are meant to live with them as a family. It's a right. It's a right you have. So it's written. It's not common. It's not common law.
Well, the reason why I said that, because with this law thing, like even the laws what they're making now, which nobody don't really know until you hear about it, and that's like it's taking away your human rights. But what rights do you have? What is your human right? That's what I'm trying to say. What is your human right?
Oh, you have a right to speech. That is part of human rights, isn't it? A right for you to express yourself. So in some African countries, actually, like, you know, the gay is not if you are gay, if you are lesbian, there's some countries you can't live in. Mm-hmm. Because it's not acceptable. Mm-hmm. But in this country, you have that right. It's a right for you to express yourself. So that's part of as a human being, you have the right to your speech. You are meant to talk, express yourself. If you like, in this country, you can go to the Queen's palace to say to Queen, I'm sorry, I don't mean it, but you are crazy. It's your right. Nobody can say you can't say that. Not in this country, but in some African countries, no, you can't. It's not acceptable. It's just not acceptable. Yeah,
I'm just trying to get to understand because people can't go out their houses no more. Because we didn't even touch that, and a lot of things that's going on with this lockdown thing. It's like, does people have any rights? Do you have to do all of these things? What rights? It's like people's rights.
Unfortunately, with COVID, it's a little bit different, isn't it? Because now we have the COVID law. Things you can do and you cannot do. As a result of COVID last year, they came up with the coronavirus law of 2020. And you need to read that to know what you are, because a lot of things, nobody can force you to go and take the vaccine, for instance. Right. Nobody can force you, because that's your right. You don't want it, you don't want it. They might try to convince you, but nobody can force you at this time. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but as of today, nobody can force you.
Okay, right, that's enough of my questions, right? I can't wait for you to come in and sit down beside me and we can talk more about this. That's it. I say thank you for the talking.
Okay.
Oh, thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
No, you're welcome. Thank you much for coming on to our show today. Thank you for coming on to Blessed Radio with Unity.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem, man. No problem.
We'll be doing a second.
Go on.
All right, we will be doing a second part with you, Bumi, and that will be on two things. The one will be just on insurance, and the second, I think I know what Bless was trying to say here. We're going to talk about the common law and the law of the land and the law of the law, the actual what's implicated with the courts.
We need to know our freedom, our legal rights, because a lot of people don't know their rights, and some people are getting themselves in problems when they don't need to, but because they don't know their rights. That's what the problem is right now. That's going to
be a different topic altogether,
Yeah, I'll also say a little bit about the Coronavirus Act of 2020.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Oh, you're going to say that now, or you're going to say that when you come in?
Oh, when I come in next.
Oh.
Not now. I thought you finished at 8.
No, I can't hear you wrestling some papers like you're looking through your law book or something, you know what I mean?
No, Bumi, thank you so much. I know you took up so much time. You've got a lot going on, Bumi, and I'm hoping Bless is going to connect you with people and send cases to you now, because I think we don't need anyone else except for you to deal with them. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Bless it. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ola. Thank you. Take care. Thank you for coming, and God bless you, Ola. And we're going to be seeing. We're going to be putting your card up on our website. So if anybody needs to get hold of you, they can just go to the website.
Thank you so much. Blessings.
Okay, take care. Anna. All right.
Bye, Bumi.
Adios.
Bye, lady.
All right. Next up, people locked on. We have the Doggone family coming in, and they are going to wake you up proper. Woo. Yeah. They're going to let you understand your roots, and not everything is up in the sky. You know what I mean? Everything is within you and also with your ancestors. So if you need to know more about that, stay tuned. They will be up next. Yeah, that was a nice intro. Yeah, I should get feared for that. When we get feared for that already, it was that good. All right, take care, people. Up next, the Dogons. Or I said the Dogon family, I should say. Bye. Right. Bye. All right, take care, people. Come on for the thing. Right. So the Dogon people up next, and today's what, Wednesday, isn't it? Oh, you can ride through then, innit? That means you get extra time. You know what I mean? Because I'm a little bit late. You wanna come straight in? You've got where's your laptop? Yeah, I could just plug in the thing in here. Stop. Yes, please. Right, big shout out to my engineer Leon, working very hard.